address it. And he just looks at the interviewer and he goes, somebody said they were close to me? And like the moment I saw that Tropic Thunder, I was like, I feel seen! Like, that's exactly how that felt to me. But that was sad, seeing the passing of Richard Lewis yesterday. Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you're looking for something to watch and you have Max and you've never started that, start that. Now, it's going to be interesting for some of the younger audiences, right? Because Larry's whole thing is everything annoys me. And being annoyed today is very much seen as intolerance. But Larry's that's Jerry and Larry, that was their whole thing. Everything's annoying. I hate everybody but you. Let's get into a room and write about it, right? And that's exactly what they've done. And that's why the shows are good, because it's the honest feelings coming out of people. Real life situations that you wish you could bitch about in the moment. Larry does it, and that's why people gravitate towards it. It's a great product. Larry has done great things, and Richard Lewis obviously had contributed quite a bit to that. We also have seen the release of the Crow remake pics. Bill Skarsgård is going to play the Crow now. I put the photos up at The Stansbury Show on Facebook if you want to give that a look. The director himself says he based his version of the Crow off of Lil Peep, rapper, hip-hop star there, and Post Malone. And he's talking about all the tattoos on the face and all the tattoos up and down the body and all that. He said, I pulled my inspiration from those guys, and that's how I built this character. And of course, now people are saying, well, now I don't want to see it. Well, that's what somebody our age was maybe saying about Brandon Lee as the Crow back in the day. Because you know what people were saying about the Crow before they saw it in the theater, right? Oh my God, here comes the Hot Topic school shooter movie, right? And like, it was before school shootings were like the thing. But like, people kind of like, oh, look, the Hot Topics are getting one now. I mean, that's literally what people were saying about it. And it brings up that point, right? Is that, of course, Brandon Lee was going to be, his version of the Crow was going to be what? Like, I don't know, emo or goth probably is how people would have referred to it, right? Because that was that era. It was. How good was that soundtrack, by the way? The best Cure song ever, Burn. A great cover by Nine Inch Nails, Dead Souls. Oh my God, and then this. That was on there. Soundtrack so good. The Crow was amazing. I just watched it the other night, as a matter of fact. It holds up mostly. There's 3 scenes where it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty bad. But like, the movie itself holds up. But back to like the Lil Peep, Post Malone Crow versus like, well, Hot Topic Crow. Well, I would make the argument that when the Crow came out, that was the big scene. Marilyn Manson and goth and like all this, that was the scene. That's what was popular. So they gave you a character of what was popular to represent that, and we were in the age group, so we liked it because they're making something for us. We see this, we like this, and now we've aged out of being the Crow audience. Let's be honest, we kind of did, unless you're going to go back and watch your original movie. That's a different thing, but we've aged out of it, and they're looking to pull in the younger audience, so they're giving them their goth, which the hot scene now is what? It's the Post Malones, it's the Little Peeps, it's the little whoever the hell. That's what they are. When I saw it, I laughed at it, but then I thought to myself, well, dude, I'm almost 50. Am I really supposed to be sitting here waiting on the Crow remake? I think the problem might be with me.
You thought Stansbury was a mess on air? Check out the show's Facebook page at Stansbury Show. Rock 106.9.
It's 330-450-7625 to text the studio. You'll also need that number to call at 8:45, as I'll get you into Primus this morning. We had talked a little bit this morning already about the Crow remake that is coming now. That movie, I think 93, 94, somewhere in there. And there's been a couple of them since, right? The original is the one that I kind of identify with the most, kind of perfectly in my age range there. And I remember when, like, I'm pretty sure Stabbing Westward had been on that soundtrack too, and I was like, dude, I've been trying to tell everybody how good this band is, right? Like, Stabbing Westward was one of those bands, dude, I was early on, and I was constantly trying to tell everybody how good they were, and then nobody ever learned to like them, and I was wrong about it, and so, but like, they're great, and I love them, right? And somebody said to me, I just hope they don't sully the soundtrack for this new one. Well, they're gonna. I mean, the director told you he's basing the character, or at least the look of the character. I should get this accurate. He based the look of Bill Skarsgård's The Crow off of Lil Peep, who is a hip-hop artist, and Post Malone. You know, I kind of made the point going to break. It's like, well, you know, of course it was a goth movie when it came out in the 90s. That's what was hot then, right? This Post Malone and, like, you know, the offshoots of Posty, that's what's hot now. So that's what they're going to do. So get ready for that soundtrack, I'm guessing, to feature a bunch of stuff like that from the hip-hop world, maybe pop world. And I kind of hope that what they give me is a soundtrack that takes some chances there. Big Empty, everybody kind of knew was going to be a smash, or maybe it had already been a smash when that soundtrack came out. But like I said, The Cure's Burn, like that's, I mean, dude, you're getting into deep cut, territory there. I mean, that's the one song that sounds nothing like what The Cure does. I mean, nothing. That's why it's their best song, right? And, you know, like I said, Nine Inch Nails gave you a great cover of Dead Souls. That's not their song. That's not Nine Inch Nails songs, but that is a great version of that song. And so my guess is that's exactly what they're going to do on the soundtrack. They're not going to give you the soundtrack you and I want. Why would they do that? Right? They're looking to capture the younger audience. This is White Man Can't Jump all over again. You know what I mean? That's literally what it is. You know, Jason says, I know I'm in the minority here, but I thought the first movie was terrible. He goes, I also saw another promotional picture of this dude and his pants are pulled down too close to the wiener there. Okay, well, somebody said, well, this is what they're drawn like in the comics. Yeah, the problem is that nobody cares about the comics. You got to understand that now. I know it's a comic book movie. Once it comes out as a movie and it stands on its own as that art form, most people don't read comic books. They don't. We have to be honest about this. There's been a massive resurgence since the Marvel thing, I will grant you that. Most people don't care about comics. Once something stands on its own as this, meaning a movie, that's what they think of it as. The Crow's now a movie. It's not a comic thing. It's a movie. Like, that's fair or not. And again, I always talk about this. There's a reason why concerts aren't for fans. They're not. They're for the casuals. Movies are the same way. So when you see something coming out about your favorite intellectual property, understand you're probably going to like it a lot less than everybody else. Like Kiss is doing their biopic movie. You're probably going to like it. I'll sit there and go, oh, what the hell? What the hell? They didn't even meet until 72. What are you talking about? Right? Like, I'm going to go crazy. People will go, oh, dude, look, the demon spitting the blood, right? And it's because it will be for the casual, not the fan. When you go to the concert, who's it for? The casual. That's why you hear Back in Black and Highway to Hell and not Problem Child and Touch Too Much. It's there for the casuals. And that's what, once you're putting something out, mass release like that, that's what it's for. Comic books kind of know this is a niche audience. And that's why the comic books are more in depth, they're more drawn out. You get much more storyline because you're actually a fan. Most people who are going to the movies. Like that's what they're doing. They're just kind of going to the movies. And these days, are you going to the movie? You're probably just going to watch this on Paramount or wherever it should be. I don't know where that will be. I got a couple of more people here telling me, well, dude, the first movie sucked. City of Angels is the better movie. Whew. Well, I haven't rewatched that one in a while. I remember thinking back in the day when they started putting them out, me and my friends were like, dude, I remember not caring about that one very much. Not that I'm like, well, I didn't care about it, so no, everybody's got to hate it. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but I guess maybe I'll have to get my eyes on that one. I was not interested, as I referenced it earlier, in the reboot of White Men Can't Jump. I wasn't interested in that. Woody and Wesley, I mean, like, that was they were perfect for that, and it worked so well that I was like, well, I don't need this. I wasn't interested in seeing that. Right? Bill Skarsgård has done things acting wise where I'm like, okay, like there's a talented individual in this. Not like you knew a ton about Brandon Lee, right? Like, I mean, it's not like Brandon Lee was like, dude, wait till you see how good this actor is, right? Like, it wasn't really like that, right? And so I'll keep an open mind to Bill Skarsgård as the Crow. But yeah, I'm expecting, get ready. That soundtrack's going to be hip-hopped out for sure. Absolutely it will. You're not going to base the character's look on those guys and not get that music on the thing. He's clearly, the director, is clearly trying to play to that audience. And my guess is that's how you would end up being successful today. I'm not expecting a goth movie because goth isn't the hot thing right now. As I kept saying, hot topic, hot topic, hot topic. Have you been past one of those now? Like, it doesn't look the way Hot Topic used to. It's still a scene store for sure, but that scene has completely changed.
Like a wake and bake with an easy bake oven. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
8:45 this morning, let's get you into Primus. We've been talking a little bit about the Crow remake, and I'm not going to spend all day on it, but we were talking about how the director says, yeah, I pulled inspiration for the way the main character looks from Lil Peep and Post Malone. I was kind of talking about how the hip-hop thing's much more popular now, and goth was like the big scene back when the Crow came out. So of course, right, like welcome to popular entertainment. It's going to be a representation of what's happening around you. Right? I was kind of talking about that. And apparently, Kelly had looked this up for me because she didn't know who Lil Peep was. And I bet most of you don't know who Lil Peep is. And apparently he's part of is this like a group of, they're individual artists, but then they come together to, I guess, create the Voltron of, and apparently it's Goth Boy Click. And again, that's not what goth looked like when I was, kind of growing up in the 90s, but I'm sure that's what goth looks like now. But apparently, Lil Peep comes from Goth Boy Click, whatever the hell that may be. I'm actually proud of myself for not knowing that. The other day, we were talking about Wendy's a little. And it got released that they were going to do dynamic pricing. Now, there's no such thing as dynamic pricing. What it is surge pricing. Hey, the peak hours of this, we're way busier. And so we're high in demand, and we live in a capitalist society. So you really want our thing right now, huh? It's more money. Uber kind of made this popular. They've kind of made this, like, as a matter of fact, what did everybody say for 2 days? Wendy's thinking about moving to Uber-style pricing. Because on St. Patrick's Day, New Year's Eve, kind of peak times, Uber will charge you some more money to use the service. I said the other day, it's not the most moral thing I've ever seen. But it is smart business. Like, it is smart business. Well, now all of a sudden Wendy's is like, whoa, hold on here. We've been taken out of context. And they're trying to clarify that they have no plans to raise menu prices when demand is at its highest. This, of course, in the wake of when the CEO said, we're going to test dynamic pricing. No such thing as dynamic pricing, it's surge pricing. Early part of next year. This apparently all stems from an investor call back on the 15th. Kirk Tanner, the president and CEO of the fast food chain, announced they would be testing a fluctuating price model in the future. He called dynamic pricing, which they stole from Live Nation, who I'm sure stole it from somebody else, as a way to change prices and menu offerings on the fly. We told you the other day they were looking to invest something like $20 million in menu boards across the country. I don't know why. I don't think you're going to be going in those restaurants for much longer. Although I guess those could have been the menu boards outside of the drive-thru. Fair enough. And essentially they'll be digital, so they can change the price whenever the hell they want. Think of like gas stations. They kind of have a digital thing. I used to be the guy that used to have to go out there with the suction cup and the pole and get it changed and do that on the fly. And the boss would scream, get out there, do it now, especially if you were lowering prices, because you knew people were going to start pulling in the door if you were lowering prices, right? And, then it went from just press this button and it'll switch to what you needed to, right? And it was pretty easy. And, Wendy said, that's what we're going to do with our menu boards. But now they're looking to clarify this. Quote, as early as 2025, the plan to test a number of features such as AI-enabled menu changes and suggestive selling based on factors such as weather that we think will provide great value and an improved customer and crew experience. That was their initial statement. The phrase dynamic pricing is widely known as the quick rise or drop in prices based on demand. Quote, at places that use this pricing strategy, it may cost more to go on a Saturday when everybody else is buying tickets to go as well. Now, hours after that statement, they clarified that the dynamic pricing test would not be used to raise prices. Instead, it would be used exclusively to offer you discounts in off-peak time. So not necessarily, what they're saying here is the plan wasn't to raise the price of the food item at noon to 1 o'clock. It was to offer you a better value. We know you're coming at noon. We know you're coming at 5. How do we get you here at 11? right? And this kind of reminds me of, somebody asked me once, I don't understand, why does stuff come out on Tuesdays? And that used to be the way it did, right? When a new album came out, it came out on Tuesday. When DVDs hit the stores, it was Tuesday. And somebody asked me, they said, why did they do it that way? And I said, because the retailers knew you were in the stores on Saturday and Sunday. They got together, the industries were helping one another. And they all got together and said, how do we sell products throughout the rest of the week? And so they got you in the stores on Tuesday. Fans are going to go early. Now you're in the store, you're buying that album, maybe one more thing off the rack at Sam Goody too, right? It's kind of how it works. These are hooks. Nothing's an accident. You know what I mean? Like, nobody ever falls ass backwards into, oh, that ended up being a good idea. It's like, no, man. Like, they spend months, years, and hundreds of millions of dollars trying to figure out how to make hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, that's kind of what it works. So they say they're not going to implement surge pricing. They're not doing it. Quote, this was misconstrued in some media reports as an intent to raise prices when demand is highest at our restaurants, the statement had read. Well, what people just assumed was, and I don't think it's crazy for all of us to have assumed this, that you were going to be a corporation in America and look to take advantage of me every last chance you get because, well, welcome to being in business. That's how you are going to stay in business. That's how you're going to do it. Quote, we have no plans to do that and would not raise prices when our customers are visiting us the most. Any features we may test in the future would be designed to benefit our customers and restaurant crew members. Okay, I don't believe this statement fully. And I demonize social media all of the time. And I tell you how terrible it is. It's dragging us all to hell. We don't appreciate anything anymore. We don't like one another anymore. We got used to saying whatever the hell it is we want to everybody. There's no respect. There's no this. There's no that, right? And that a lot of that is true. So on the flip side of that, what I should do is highlight where I think social media has gotten it right. And I think this is it. You know damn well they were going to raise these prices until they found out how mad you and I were. This is a benefit here. This is something social media did well, I think. Now, I still think down the road, once we forget about it, they're going to do it again. But I have said to you so many times throughout the years on the show, when I saw the power of social media, I couldn't believe they gave it to me. And this is what I meant. Because if we actually get together, look at what can happen in a day and a half. So by all means, let's spend the rest of our lives arguing about what doesn't matter.
Can I get the number 6?
You and I together, there is nothing stopping that.
The combo.
But the moment it happens, it will take social media away from you.
Medium. And make that the double.
In your rambling, incoherent response,
Small, medium, or
were you even close
Medium.
to anything that can be considered irrational?
Coke. That'll be it.
In this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
About an hour from now, I'm going to get you into Primus, Coheed Cambria. That shows August, Blossom, LiveNation.com to pick up tickets or win them off me at 8:45. Did you guys know that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are still dating? Did you know that? I bring it up because, well, you can't find a headline about it anywhere now that the football season is over. Yeah, it's almost like two popular people were dating in the middle of the most popular sport being played on television. She was going to games, and so the news was telling you about the relationship. Now that he's not playing in games, all of a sudden you can't find a Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce headline anywhere. You know how I know? Her dad literally is being accused of assaulting a fan, I believe it is. Or security guard, maybe? I mean, look at that. Her dad literally is being accused of punching somebody for crying out loud, and you have to fill in the gaps on what the information is. You know why? Because you're not seeing the headline everywhere. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. It wasn't like, they're ending all this stuff. I was like, dude, it's all going to die down after the football season. By the way, they're still together. Oh, they're just in it for the rating. Yeah, they're just in it for the rating. You know, the sport that pulls $60 million for the draft. Good Lord. I mean, bro, you have to be an absolute dope. I mean, like, the kind of stuff people just think is insane. We're not going to spend all day on Taylor Swift. Thank you for the tour. We have been talking about Wendy's. I almost said Arby's for some reason. I must be hungry for lunch already. They are going to drop this dynamic pricing thing. Now they're walking it back and saying, look, we were never going to raise prices in peak hours. What we were going to do is lower prices and off them. Which I don't think either one of them is great, if you're on. Because what people are going to say is like, well, I have to take my lunch break here. So I'm screwed because my office says this is when you take your lunch? Because this is a standard time for U.S. workers to take lunch? So there's a way to argue it that way, right? Where it's like, oh, so you're going to screw me over and give the deal to them? Now, it's not really about screwing over one customer or giving a deal to the others. It's about creating customers for them for as many hours as they're open. They're paying the workers, they're paying for the electricity, they're paying for, everything else. And if you're not bringing in customers every hour of the day, you are going to be spending more money on that stuff than you are going to be bringing money in. Nobody, and even nobody is going to cry for the fast food CEO or their shareholders. I understand that, as I'm a Wendy's shareholder. I understand that, right? Nobody is going to cry for that. I get it, but that is what they're trying to do. They're just trying to create busier times other times of the day. It kind of backfired. And I said, this is a positive byproduct of social media. Because they saw everybody go, no. And they went, all right, they're not ready. Like, they're not ready, I'm taking so many texts at 330-450-7625 about how terrible of an idea that surge pricing is. People are worried about it permeating out into other businesses. And I think why I'm less angered by it than other consumers is I've been dealing with it as a customer in another area. And I'm not the only one. Dynamic pricing to me, or surge pricing to me, is tee times at the golf course. I'm time rich. So I prefer to play golf Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, by myself, a little quiet, just kind of saying, nobody, you're not stacked 3-4 groups on the tee box, every single dad trying to get Sunday's round in. Oh my God, the wife lets me off the hook one day on Saturday, better go get it maxed out. And everybody rushes to the golf course. I hate playing on Saturday and Sunday. When my friends ask me, I'm like, all right, I guess I will, but I kind of hate it. Like, it's because it's so busy. And one of the things the golf courses do to try to spread out who's playing when and where and maximize their money because they know that's when you're coming to play. If you go play Wednesday at 1, it's one price. And if you go play Sunday morning at 9 a.m., it's a whole nother price. Golfers have been dealing with dynamic pricing in a time. And so when I saw it, I was like, dude, quit playing an Uber. Like, dude, it's the PGA right here. That's what it is. So I've seen it. I've dealt with this in my favorite form of recreation my entire life. So I just kind of, maybe I just kind of expect it because of that. You know what I mean? Any given Wednesday, dude, the course could be $60 for 18 holes. I bet a lot of them are going to be close to 90 Sunday morning now. And I told everybody, as more and more of them close, what do you think is going to happen with the prices? You think the ones that are open are going to lower their prices? Come on. Come on. They're going to raise their prices this season. For sure they are. They have to. And all the other courses closing, by the way, is proof that they have to. Like everybody, again, greed, greed, you owner, rich. It's like, no, dude. Most of the times, owners aren't rich. They're not. Well, until they sell that land. And then all of a sudden you get rich. Dude, land's not worth any money until you sell it. A lot of times you lose money until you sell it. You're going to make your money for sure. But you're not going to make it every year. I know people who own a golf course. You know what they've told me? This is God's honest truth. They've never turned a profit once on the golf course, ever. Not once. Without the restaurant and people hosting weddings there, it would have been shut down 20 years ago. They literally keep it because it's a passion project for the family. They love golf. And so they keep it. It's a passion project. But if it was just the golf course, he said, we would have sold it forever ago. I've never turned a profit in it, ever. That's while charging a halfway decent amount of money. But every guy like me shows up with a 30 rack in the bag and this and all of that because I'm not getting taken to the cleaners, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody turns around and goes, why is all my favorite stuff closing? You know what I mean? Because this is what we do. But I've seen dynamic pricing all over the golf course my entire life. And so when I see it in other places, it's not new, I guess. I don't see the sticker shock of it because it's like, yeah, it's actually smart business. This is it. Because again, you don't eat fast food all day. You eat it at certain times, right? My guess is it would have been better. We're going to do, if we're staying open late, the dynamic pricing would have been that would have been your best place to do it. 11 o'clock and later, let's get the bar crowd, blah, 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 third shift workers, because you know why? Third shifters, sorry, this one's going to stay. But most of America wouldn't care because it wouldn't affect them. Most people, once they get past 35, they're not shutting bars down. They may go to a bar, but they damn sure ain't shutting it down, right? Like, it's just, that ain't happening. And most people do not work third shift. So if you wanted to do this, like, hey, and then you could have spun it like, we're staying open later. But because of that, we're incurring more cost. So yeah, we are going to charge you more money for that. That would have been the best way to go about that without having all the pushback that they got on this. But just because Wendy's is going to backpedal now does not mean that this issue for us as consumers is going away. I don't think it is. You know how this works. Something gets put out, we bat it down, they go, all right, we just got to figure out how do we do this. Tweak this, put this in there, take that out. Next thing you know, baby, they will love it.
You're never too old for a good morning kiss. The Stansberry Show, Rock 106.9.
By the end of the hour, you're getting into Primus. Coheed and Cambria on that show, too. Man, you guys got strong opinions on dynamic pricing. Wendy's kind of pushed this story to the forefront by kind of talking about how they were going to do it. Now they're coming out and clarifying and saying, everybody misconstrued us. We weren't going to raise prices during peak hours. We were going to give you better deals in off-peak hours, which I could see both being true. You know, that's what you're doing as a business, is you're trying to seduce customers in as often as humanly possible. Right? You're open all day. The electricity's burning all day. You're paying the employees all day. You do it, right? And so you're looking to make money. Now, I said nobody's going to cry for the fast food CEOs, right? And I understand that. But they are in business to maximize how much money's being made per minute. And if you've owned a business, you kind of know that. I mean, my brother and I, when we had that bar, you would just stare at the front door sometimes like, oh my God, I'm lighting $100 bills on fire, right? And like, and then when people came in, you're like, oh, thank God, you'd start to make your money back, right? I've told you before, most bars, you know, you use 3 to carry 4. You're making the bulk of your money on 3 days, and the other 4 days, you're treading water. Depending on the bar, depending on the business, but a lot of them, that's how they run. When do you go out drinking? Exactly. Right, exactly. And so, like, you're using 3 to carry 4. That's what happens a lot of times. That's why there are different kinds of liquor licenses you can get. And that's why some bars, you're like, why is that bar never open on Monday? They don't have the Monday license. And they chose not to pay for it because they were like, well, screw it. It's kind of how it works. I haven't applied for a liquor license in a long time, but, like, that's the way it works. Is like you can get a 7-day license, you can get a 5-day, you can get, and so it all depends on what it is you're looking to do, and they are different amounts of money. And so what a lot of businesses do is go, well, I'm not trying to make a bunch of money on that day. I know I won't. And again, what I'm telling you about some stuff I dealt with in Oregon. I should maybe be careful here while talking in Ohio on that subject. But that's the way it was there. I also had to tell the government 2 weeks in advance if I was going to shut my business down any longer than 4 days. You know, because all the freedom I have. So all that. Let's not get sidetracked. But you guys have very strong opinions about this, and plenty of you brought the bar up and said, isn't dynamic pricing happy hour? And I understand not everybody listens to every segment or every day, but we got into this a little bit earlier this week on the happy hour thing. And yes, that's exactly what it is. Now, we told you about happy hour, right? They advertise one thing to get you in the door, and a lot of times, you ever notice this about you? Maybe you don't do this, maybe I'm alone here. But you'll see something advertised like that for happy hour, and you don't even want that. But you think to yourself, that's a pretty good deal. And you go anyway, right? Isn't that kind of weird? It's like sometimes I'll see a bucket of beers, I'm like, I'm not going to get that, but pretty good deal. They probably have other good deals, right? And so you find yourself going in there. Now, sometimes I want the deal that's being advertised to me like anybody else, right? Welcome to it. But a lot of times what that is $2 vodka and cran. Yeah, for well vodka and cran. But what are you going to do when you walk in there? You're going to walk up to the bar and order Tito's and soda. And now all of a sudden, you're not getting that price. You came in for it, but you ain't getting it. And like that's, a lot of times that's what it is. It's hooks. Ladies' night was a hook. Happy hour's a hook. Again, nothing's for you, ever. Nothing's for us, ever, right? It's about getting us to get out, move around, spread the money around, stimulate the economy, do that. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? And I don't think that makes the business nefarious. I don't. I really don't. You can get a little carried away being greedy occasionally, right? And I think that's maybe what we saw here, and that's why they're walking this back. Now, so many of you brought this up, and I don't do as much traveling as I used to, but they say this person had texted this in 330-450-7625, you can too. And they said vacationing has done the same thing with dynamic pricing. This is a long time, Stansbury. He's like, there's peak season, off season for all things related as well. Rental homes, Airbnb, Vrbo, all of that. They have peak season and off season pricing. My guess is peak season is when your kids aren't in school. I'm just going to guess that. Along with the shops and stores, excursions, entertainment, and so on. It's, this person's telling me, I don't know if it's a man or a woman there, it's really not all that different. And I said, yeah, I've read a lot about this. Most of the time when I vacation, I just go to Vegas. My family's lived there 30 years. My mom's getting older, so if I take time away from, the building and I go somewhere, I'm like, all right, let's just go see mom and my brother, right? And most of the time I will stay at my brother's, because they have, their house is big enough and you can kind of stay out of the way and all of that. And they've lived there 30 years. I'm not really interested in, going downtown Vegas, be on the strip. I've done it all a million times. If I take somebody with me who's never been, or somebody comes out, like, yeah, obviously I'll meet you down there. But at this point, I mean, honestly, I've been to Vegas maybe 10 times and have never gone to the strip. Just because he's lived there 30 years. So it's kind of one of those things. But like Vegas got into like resort fees and like all kind of stuff. And they've now I think it's most of the casinos on the strip have now, you now pay for valet. You never did. Valet was free. They just expected you to tip the drivers. And those drivers, those valets, by the way, were making doctor money in Las Vegas. Dude, a buddy of mine was a valet in Vegas. This is a long time ago now. He did $610 one year. $610,000, baby, parking cars. Like, dude, that's what's crazy about Vegas. Is like jobs that you would look at here like, oh my God, that's what you do, are massively paid there. And other jobs, it's like, yeah, we don't really care about that. And I've told you before, it's because Vegas is the one city on earth that don't tell no lies. It's about that paper, man. Hand over that paper now. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your kids. I don't care about any of this stuff. It's about them dollar bills. Hand them over right now, right? Like, Vegas is the one city that doesn't lie. Like, they're right there, like, we're here to milk you, baby. Hand it over. Like, that's what they do. And I actually like that kind of honesty, but you're not wrong about the vacationing thing. Is that I've been hearing about this a lot, or, reading a lot of different articles on it and the like. And it really seems as if Airbnb and Vrbo, just another version of Airbnb they're going through it right now. And I had kind of predicted this too, and, not the only one, you probably did as well. That came out as an alternative to hotels. And it was cheaper, it was this, it was that. And then it was a business for enough years. And they have to make sure their shareholders get money. So what did they do? They started to price it like a hotel, because there's a reason why hotels are priced the way they're priced. You know why? Because that's what it costs to run them. And everybody says, you're making profits, as if profits are bad. Profits are good. Do you ever drive past a strip mall and see every store in there closed and think to yourself, how sad? That looks terrible, how sad? Yeah, you know why all those businesses are closed, right? Not enough profits. Profits isn't a dirty word. It isn't. Yes, there are companies that are the worst version of companies and they are extorting you this, but is it most? I don't know about most. More than enough of them, sure. But you can't look around and go, that's sad, that closed, and demonize people who are turning a dime. I said it about being a business owner. People would say to me all the time, $5 a shot, bottles 20. Right. Well, I got to pay her salary. I got to pay her health insurance. I got to pay the electric. I got to pay the beer guy. I got to pay my food distributor. I got to pay this. I got to pay security. I got to pay for this. So yeah, I'm going to charge you a little bit more per shot than what you could get the bottle at the store for. You know why? Because you don't want to sit on your couch and drink alone. Because that reminds you how sad you are. So you came here to drink with the rest of the people who don't want to go home to an empty house. And yeah, I'm going to charge you a little bit more money for that. Because instead of being in your living room, you're in mine. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to charge you money for that. Also, nobody goes into business to break even. I love when people say that, oh my God, this only cost this, you're charging this. Caught me in my evil plan to feed my children.
To all the teachers who said he'd never amount to anything.
That is correct.
Lucky guess. The Stansberry Show on Rock 1069.
9 a.m. this morning, we'll take a look at the NFLPA report cards. Who's first, who's last, where do the Browns rank? We'll get there. This is like players ranking what it's like to work for the organization. What are the workout facilities like, practice facilities, childcare, travel accommodations, that kind of stuff. We'll take a look at it. Fans overreact to this every single year. I'll give you a little peek at it. The Chiefs owner finished dead last. Worst owner, they said. Won a couple of Super Bowls in the last 5 years. It's not about the vending machines. It's not about the water fountain. It's not about whether or not the team playing is good enough for the diva athlete. It's about number 15. When you get the guy who can sling the football, everything else falls into place. The quarterback matters. Everybody else just also reigns. That's it. Get the quarterback right. Everything else falls into place. You can't even list a Patrick Mahomes wide receiver. Doesn't matter if they're good. He's good. That's what matters. And so fans overreact to this every year, but we will get to where the Browns are on the list. We will do that coming up at 9 o'clock. I think you want to be better than not in it. We'll get there. We were talking about food because of the dynamic pricing with Wendy's. Right? Surge pricing is what that's called. By the way, if you're Uber, you have to hate it, right? Because everybody hates this system. Uber's by no means the first people to do it, and everybody's calling it the Uber-style pricing. Like, they have to hate that right now. But I figured since we were talking food that way, let's start talking about what it is you would prefer to be eating. They did a survey, and it tells us that 70% of U.S. citizens would prefer comfort food over a gourmet meal. Yeah, I have no problem believing this. This will sound crazy to some of you. There are a lot of people listening right now who, I'm just going to guess, have never had what we would consider to be a gourmet meal. It's not crazy. It's really not. How many 5-star restaurants have you been to? Do you know if you have been to a restaurant that has received a Michelin star? Did you know what Michelin star was? I'm not looking to knock anybody. I'm saying, like, there's a barrier here for a lot of people and gourmet meals. And we all know we're not making them at home a whole lot. Otherwise, Uber Eats wouldn't be killing it, right? I've said this before. When you think about how obsessed with food this country is, how many calories we eat every day, it's the thing that keeps you alive. And most of us are completely ignorant to it. It's alarming, right? That's terrifying to me. Because when I start thinking about, like, nightmare scenarios, I start thinking about that dude who bought up every business in America, and now all of a sudden, hey, look, he owns all the farmland now too. Probably not part of a wring your hands together evil CEO plan. I love this. CEOs are evil. CEOs are evil. CEOs are evil. Hey, this guy's buying up all of this farmland, right? Like, this ain't going to be good for everybody. You conspiracy theorists, stop with your misinformation, man. Oh, okay. So the CEOs are good now? Got it. Absolutely got it. I'm not surprised people want comfort food versus gourmet meals. I've seen my waistline and I've seen a few of yours. You go into a 5-star restaurant gourmet meal, 3 little pebbles on the plate, the garnish is bigger than the food. Comfort food is, I'll take 3 spoonfuls of the mashed potatoes, please. Right? Like, that's kind of how that goes. I'm not surprised by this at all. According to the results, the comfort food we want forever, chicken wings, 45%. Well, tied into sports viewing, the chicken wing is, for sure. When you talk football, again, I'm going to guess probably the most watched U.S. sport, pre-Travis Kelce and Taylor, They rigged it, man. They're on to us, man. Anyway, but 45% of you are saying chicken wings. It's baked into the sports viewing of America, so I buy that. For the longest time, wing night was an economical way to go out, have a couple of beers with the friends and kind of do that, eat some wings. And again, on a Tuesday, wing night to get you out there because you were already going to the bar or restaurant on Saturday and Sunday. Let's get you there on Tuesday. And so there's a hook there, right? And so that I have no problem believing. Also, then now conversely, the other side of that coin is that chicken wings have skyrocketed in price. Like a lot of times people say, well, I want wings, but God, they're just going to be so much money. And you see, so I could see people going, well, it's getting harder for me to have this thing that I really love. So if I'm those, I could see it. Mozzarella sticks came in at 33. Yeah, I guess when I think comfort food, I don't think appetizer. Part of it's fried cheese. Okay, part of it. Comfort food to me is like the old American classics. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Or, you know, you could get into lasagna and all that, and we will get there here in a second. Cheesy garlic bread. About 28% of people said, you know, it tops that. Yeah, toasted bread of any kind is good. Like toast in the morning, Saturday morning, a piece of toast, butter, and a cup of coffee. Oh, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, yes, I can't wait. I'm gonna go do it right now. I love that. So I buy that. That makes perfect sense for me. Now entrees, pasta's kind of reigning supreme there. About 23%. Fettuccine came in second there at 17%. And we like pasta so much apparently that mac and cheese came in as people's favorite comfort food, or the comfort food they would want to have forever. You know, if you've been listening to the shows and my entire run here at Rock 1069, I have an affinity for mac and cheese. I love it. I'm a big fan of it, and have and that fits the mold of comfort food for me, for sure. That's what comfort food is. Delicious, I know I shouldn't eat. Delicious, I know I shouldn't eat this portion size of it. That's comfort food for me. That's kind of how I see it. Pizza's on this list too at 39. If you asked me what would be my favorite, that's probably going to be it. I've said forever, pizza's probably my favorite food overall. Steaks are great too, but I don't really think a steak is necessarily a comfort food. But pizza feels that way. Again, bread and sugar and the cheese and all of that, and sugar pizza. Yeah, it's in the sauce, man. And so there's a lot of that. So I'd be all in on pizza. Apparently mashed potatoes you prefer over baked potato, but most of you would rather have French fries. Well, now we're going to get into from where, right? I would prefer mashed potatoes versus a French fry if I'm eating comfort food. To me, a hamburger isn't comfort food. That's American Grill. I know I'm splitting hairs here now. But that's when I think comfort food, I think fork. Am I crazy? And I know I just said pizza and that's hands and that'd be the same thing as a burger. All right, that made no sense. I'll retract. But I for some reason I don't think fries is comfort food either. I think maybe, you know what it is? And burgers, this would be true of too. They're so common in the drive-thru that I don't feel like, all right, it's cold, it's whatever, I need a little comfort food, I may be missing home a little bit, comfort food. That feels like meatloaf and mashed potatoes to me. That's maybe just how I see it. Now, it's not just about appetizers, and it's not just about your main course. Also, we need to talk a little dessert here, and that's probably my least favorite part of any meals, probably dessert. I know that may sound crazy to some of you, but we'll run you through this, take a look at some more of your comfort food favorites, and yeah, we'll get those Primus tickets passed out next on Rock 1069.
It's cool when you get up and you feel instantly connected to the world.
The Stansberry Show
I don't know what it is. I got them on every morning.
on Rock 1069.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show. I'll get you into Primus here in a moment. We had been talking about comfort food, and it's because a recent survey tells us 70% of Americans would rather have comfort food than like a 5-star meal, gourmet meal. Well, yeah, I mean, most of us have only ever eaten something that is considered or has used the word gourmet when it goes into the microwave, and they use gourmet to lie to us, right? Like, hey, gourmet this. Like, all right, sure enough. So, of course, comfort food. And again, where are we right now? Midwest, kind of, right? Yeah. And comfort food's kind of our thing, right? Now, you know, there are versions of comfort food. Soul food would definitely be a version of comfort food, absolutely, right? Having spent some time in New Orleans years and years ago, some of the best food ever down there. What they consider to be, you know, comfort food, we maybe haven't tried up here, but like travel a little bit, you know, move around the menu board a little bit. A lot of people made their suggestion on the text line at 330-450-7625 that sausage, biscuits, and gravy feels like comfort food. I would agree. That does feel like comfort food. Again, man, yeah, like meat sauce over carbs. Yeah, that's that's kind of the way that's going to go. Again, it was chicken wings. If people said if I could pick a comfort food for the rest of my life to eat, it would be chicken wings. I mean, they're damn good. I love them. And as a matter of fact, just the other day, me and my couple of buddies went out for lunch or whatever, and I thought I wanted to get something. And we got to the restaurant, my buddy's like, I'm getting wings. And I was like, damn it, I am too now. And that happens to me a lot. Like, I can get order envy, you know. And then we got them, and they were great. And I was like, God, man, I wasn't even going to get these, but they're delicious. Mozzarella sticks, Caesar salad, cheesy garlic bread. Now, that was kind of like the appetizer portion. You start getting the entrees, pasta really reigns supreme here. Spaghetti at 23%, fettuccine Alfredo about 17%, pizza, you know, on that list of like, you know, Italian-ish type food there, 39%. Burgers fell all the way in last place, 29%. My guess is because we have burgers so often, you know, you'll get a burger at a fast food place, you cook out on the grill, you know, you're probably making burgers, you know, a lot of that kind of stuff. So, you know, I could understand burgers not necessarily being at the top of the list. I don't know why there's such a big disconnect for me about burgers being comfort food. I don't know about that, right? Apparently pasta's so big for us, though, that, like I said, the mac and cheese was a huge response for people. And that feels like comfort food, you know, mac and cheese does, and I love it. I like all kinds. I like KD. I actually like KD better than I like Velveeta. Sorry. A friend of mine in Canada got me on KD dinner, Kraft dinner, like that's what they call Kraft macaroni and cheese. They call it KD up there. And she just got me hooked on it. And it's one of those things I haven't been able to stop saying. But I like that. I think I actually like that better than the Velveeta. A coworker of mine, my work wife, Nicole, last week told me that Stouffer's mac and cheese still is absolutely as good as you remember. It's been a little while since I've had it. But I get to easily see that. Now we're going to start talking about the desserts. I wanted to ask you guys about that. So if you're going to top off this comfort food meal, what are you looking for? Chocolate cake came in about 46%. A couple of months ago, I got on a cake like habit. You know, I fell in love with making food for football instead of ordering it in or going out to someplace to watch it. I you know, once I moved into my new house, I kind of made it my Sunday ritual thing. I was going to make something great and kind of did, and I started making cakes. I had people over for the Super Bowl, and they walked in, like, dude, you bake us a cake? I'm like, 2, buddy. I'm like, yeah, you got options. I got stuff. I fell in love with cake again recently. Cheesecake was the second option for people. I would prefer cheesecake to just standard cake. That would be my thing. And ice cream, number one choice there. 63% of people said, oh yeah, if you're going to give me a dessert option, I'll go with the ice cream. I kind of go on ice cream swings. I won't have it for the longest time. And then if I buy a pint at the grocery, and this is why I don't buy it and keep it in the house a lot, it's not around long. You know what I mean? I'll have that thing open 20 minutes. The next thing you know, it's cardboard and spoon meeting at the bottom, and it's just like sad times. Right, sad times. Now, for those of you a little closer to like, you know, Orville and Dalton and Worcester and that area, like every year, once the Dalton Darriette opens, I gotta go. And I know there's 1,000 type Darriette ice cream, and they're probably all great. You know, I play a lot of golf at the Pines, and so I go right by it twice. You know what I mean? I go by it to get there, I go by it to get home, And the ability to not stop and get a blueberry milkshake from there, I just don't possess it. It's just one of those things. If I played great, we're getting a milkshake to celebrate. If I played terribly, it's like, I'll get a milkshake on my way home and save the day. And so, like, no matter what happens, I find a way to make that happen. But that's kind of really, when I think ice cream, I think them for sure. It's one of the things that pops up. There's obviously Milk and Honey. I mean, I could go on and on and on and list all the great places to get ice cream here. But, that's kind of how I see that. That would probably not be my first dessert choice. I find myself having ice cream when other people are having it. I've said this about Chipotle and Chick-fil-A. I don't need to go alone because the better half and her children want it a lot. Right? And so it's like, all right, well, I'll get my Chick-fil-A fix in with them, and I'll get my Chipotle fix in with them. I don't need to do it when I'm alone because I do it so often with them. That's kind of how ice cream is for me too. What's crazy is I love it, but I find myself not getting it a whole lot or not choosing it as my option a whole lot. I would be more cake based there for sure for me, and cheesecake, definitely. French silk pie, I got a lot of that coming in. Going back to just the food itself, chili and crackers. Yeah, to me, that's a good version of comfort food there too. And that's what I think of comfort food for me. It's starting to snow, the Browns are on, cold, don't really want to go anywhere. Let's get a hot bowl of chili, sit on the couch, kind of watch the game, maybe drink too many Busch Lights, and you kind of do that. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I think that's good. Easy to just kind of put it in the crock pot and kind of let it go. French silk pie is good. If I'm going to go pie, if we're going to bring this into it, my favorite pie is probably pecan pie. You see that normally around the Thanksgiving holiday. It's getting really pricey to buy that now. Blueberry pie I'm a huge fan of. French silk, would I rather have a lemon pie? I think I'd rather have lemon there than French silk personally. You can overdo chocolate for me. I'm not a big chocolate candy bar guy. I will eat them if they're laying around. I don't find myself craving. I need a chocolate candy bar. It's just not, chocolate's not necessarily my favorite thing. I love it. It's good. And I'll eat it. It's sitting out on the table, gonna eat it for sure. I'm a fat ass who will literally just eat it. I'll graze all day if it's laying there. But it's not my first choice there. But yeah, French silk pie. You know what that is I don't see it often enough that if I saw it on a menu, Tim, I could maybe see myself ordering French silk pie because of the rarity of it. I just don't see it all that much. We'll get into some more of this. Also take a look at the NFLPA report cards after we get you hooked up with these Primus tickets. That shows August 5th, Coheed and Cambria on it. And caller 15, you're going. 330-450-7625. There's a toll-free option at 800-243-7625. Let's get into the final hour of the program next on Rock 106.9.
And you know what that conniving trickery is called?
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9. There's something currently underway that we used to all pay attention to that's almost an afterthought now. The NFL Combine. Used to be big doings. But more and more the stars don't throw. They don't take the cognitive test anymore.